guys. And we're
Howdy.
back to Breakfast Blend.
What's up, guys?
We're bringing it back.
Welcome back. Welcome back, or welcome, I guess.
Welcome.
Back or welcome. I don't know.
We got some breaking news today.
We do have some breaking news on
so much
Breakfast
so
Blend.
we wanted to share this with you guys.
Yeah. So I'm pregnant.
Right.
I am
Right.
no. In all seriousness, people. No, I decided to quit my job.
Yeah.
And I quit my job out of nowhere. And let me tell you this, like, it wasn't out of nowhere. Like, there were, like, a lot of factors that played into it. So it wasn't like, I just woke up, so I quit yesterday, by the way. So this is still very fresh to me. Like, I quit because there were a lot of variables that played into this decision. And like, some of them were based on just kind of things that I was seeing in terms of, like, the progress of, the business that I was in. But some of it really came down to my mental health. Like, it was a situation where I felt myself just slowly fading into this abyss of stress and anxiety that I don't want in my life anymore.
Right. And honestly, man, like, that's become like a huge thing for everybody, I think.
What's that, like, mental
Just
health?
paying attention to their mental health when it comes to their everyday situations.
I agree. I 100% agree.
And I gotta say, like, as your friend, I'm both jealous and scared for you at the same time. And I definitely want us to talk about that, because these are some really very real situations that we all go through. And I mean, it's what helped us. A lot of these situations are what helped us develop this podcast and these other channels and this whole platform. And then in turn, like, let's talk about it, man. Like, are you good with it? Like,
absolutely, man. So here's the thing. I mean, like, we've discussed this in a previous episode, and depending on the timing of when this one comes out versus another one that we have in play with you guys, we created Breakfast Blend because we really wanted to talk about the ins and outs of us, right? So in some of our other channels or extensions of Dad Man Dude, like, we end up being silly, we end up talking about random stuff, we end up joking around a lot. But this one, for us, Breakfast Blend, has become an area where we can kind of share feelings, right? And that's something that, again, with the stigma of males and stuff like that, like, we are not supposed to be sharing feelings, right? At least that's how I grew up, right? I wasn't supposed to be sharing feelings. I wasn't supposed to be affected.
Definitely not supposed to talk about that.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to, like, feel scared or feel anything, right? But the reality is that I am scared. Like, I'm diving into this territory that I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. And for those people that know me, like, they know that I have a plan for everything, right? And I don't have a plan. Like, I strictly, I did it because my mental health, to me, has become a huge priority for me. Like, it's something that I never realized my entire life how affected I was by anxiety just taking over me. And, like, I'm not saying that the anxiety kind of puts me in a place where, like, I, like, stand still and can't do anything. But I can tell you that, like, I replay scenarios in my head until I pretty much feel like a piece of shit. Even though, like, it might have not been a situation that might have been my fault, right? But I still,
you might have not had anything to do with it.
No, and I still feel that way, right? So, for me, like, this was a decision that came about because of the fact that I really wanted to protect the mental stability. And this is something that I've worked really hard on too, man. I mean, like, I struggle with that a few years ago. Like, I'm on medication now. Not a lot of people know that, but I'm on medication now. And, like, prior to being on medication and taking care of myself and, really starting to hone in on the mental health aspect, um, like I struggled a lot. I didn't talk to anybody. Like I mean, like I talk to people. I mean, that's a lie. I mean, like I talk to people because I'm pretty extroverted when it comes to social
Yeah.
situations. But deep down in my soul, I'm an introvert, right? And for me, like there were several times where I would just hide in my bedroom and I didn't talk to my own family. I mean, like I didn't talk to my wife. I didn't talk to my kids. Like I just wanted to disconnect from the world, and that's something that I didn't want to get back into, and
Right.
I felt that work was putting me in that situation. And I'm not trying to say that every job is like that. I'm not saying that everybody's job is treating them that way, and I'm not even saying that my job was the one to treat me that way, because there were elements to the job that were rewarding, right?
Yeah.
And for me, like as long as the reward is higher than the actual pain, I'm in it to win it, right?
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, this one came about where like it just felt like the pain points were just too many for the reward that I was getting out of the job itself. So
Well, dude, and I gotta say, hats off to you on a couple different levels. So you said you went through a lot of stuff previously. I know me and you have talked about that in depth personally, and I think I'm personally, just as another human being, as somebody who I call my best friend, I'm proud of you for recognizing it and then deciding to do something about it. You know what
right,
I'm
right,
saying? You
right.
you recognize that you were going down that same path before as you had done previously. And I think not enough people give enough credit to those types of scenarios. When you choose not to go down that same road again, you're really doing something for yourself.
No,
And I
absolutely.
mean, hats off to you, man, for recognizing the situation and then doing something about it. And like, let me be 100% frank. Like, I know there's 1,000 concerns out there from everybody. I mean, that was one of my first thoughts when we first talked about this was, are you okay financially? Like like that, because let's face it, in the world that we live in today, it's gotten to the point where um that whole "you don't need money to have happiness" thing, like I, I don't think that's real anymore. Like
It's not.
you literally need so much money just to survive, that has to be at the forefront of your mind all the time. And to be able to make a decision, and hey, on a growth perspective, in my opinion, to be able to make a decision, we talked about some of these decisions before, but to be able to make a decision where you're still okay for your family, you're still okay as an individual, you're still okay financially, and you can make a decision to do something drastic to better yourself mentally and to take care of yourself. That's got to be, there's got to be some sort of win that you feel from that.
Absolutely. I mean, like you talk about the finance aspect, right? So from the finance aspect, like, yeah, that shit's scary, man. And you're absolutely right. Like, the whole mentality of like money doesn't buy happiness is bullshit, right? Because like we live in a capitalist society, right? We live in America. And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, like I like the shit that America does for the most part, right? There's some things that we do that are pretty fucked up. I'm gonna leave that out of this podcast because that's something way different that we need to maybe address at another time. But we live in a capitalist environment, so I can't be happy unless I have the means in order to get some of these things that are really necessary for me to move forward, right?
Right.
So the decision that I made yesterday was very scary. I mean, I ended up calling Nicole and I'm just like, hey, Nicole, can we survive a month too? If I quit today. And, she also understood that my mental health was something very important. And, without hesitating, like she said, yeah, and I'm not telling you, like, I'm not saying that we have the financial means where we're not worried. I mean, I'm worried,
Right.
like I'm a human being. I'm worried, but again, like it was
But
either
the fact that you've grown to the point, from the point of you needed that paycheck on Friday, or that becomes a serious question. And
absolutely.
now
Well,
you're far enough along in life where you have made it to, at least you got to give a little bit of credit. You guys have made it to a point where you can, like, you could be down two or three paychecks. cool.
Yeah. And
Like,
like I
and
said,
still be okay after.
right. Well, and like I said, I mean, like that stuff is scary, right? I mean, like yesterday, I had to explain that shit to my kids, right? Because like I'm the type of person that I grew up in an environment where I was told some things and not told other things, right? And then it became really confusing because yes, everything has there's an age and a time for everything, right? But at the same time, like if your kids are asking, right, then they have an understanding of what's going on, and it's not okay for you to leave them hanging, right, just because of the fact that you don't want them to know the issue, right? For me, it was important for me to tell them why it is that I did this. And I mean, I'm not going to jump into the details of every single aspect of it, but I
Right.
did tell them why it is that I did it, right? Because like they also know how important work was for me, right? I mean, like work has been a huge piece of my life forever,
Right.
and like every time that work needed something, and I'm not talking specifically my previous employer. I'm talking about like, other jobs that I've had. Like I've
In
always
life.
in life, yeah. I've always had that mentality where I put work first. And I always said, well, Nelson, you're tired? Fuck you. You can still go do the work, right?
Right.
Um and I would do it. And I feel like I am a very tough person. I'm resilient. I feel like I, can separate the good and the bad for the most part. But when it comes to, like I said, my mental health, that's something that's very sensitive to me, and I didn't want to play with that anymore. And going back to the topic of even Nicole understanding the severity of the issue, right? She knew that my mental health was going to tank had I not taken any action, right?
Well, and
Um,
dude, that's got to feel good in itself that you're the person that is that close to you also cares about your mental health enough to be like, yeah, do what you got to do.
no, absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
that's some powerful stuff, man. Like you gotta call those little pieces out, at least from my seat. Like
No,
I think that's what we're all looking for in life.
no, absolutely. Like you got to surround yourself with those people, man. Like, like you got to surround yourself with the people that are willing to elevate you, are willing to support you. They're also willing to tell you the truth, right? You need to surround yourself with those folks. And, for those people that actually helped me through my decision yesterday, thank you, honestly. That you were one of them too, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, you and I spoke. I remember like calling you yesterday, and I'm just like, hey man, I quit my job, and you're just like, what? Um, yeah. Like, and I think at the time, like you were a bit shocked because again, me that I just don't.
Well, and you did you always got a plan. B, you have always made moves. So if you come like I look at it this way, I think me and you are very similar in this aspect of if we've made a decision that one of those things is in question, before we say, okay, I need to separate from this instantly, it's okay, where am I going next?
Right,
And then
exactly.
even though you go to work and like, halfway do your job or full way do your job, whatever. I mean, knowing me or you, we would completely still do the same shit we did, but then be looking for other options and looking for other moves. Very rarely have me or you put ourselves in situations where we just don't have anything,
No,
where it's
right.
just like spur of the moment. But
No, 100%, man, 100%. And like it's definitely like the things that I'm going through now, like are very shocking, unorthodox. Um, I think shocking is probably the best term because
yeah,
none of this stuff would happen. But again, I'm telling you, man, like my vision or my outlook in life has completely changed. My priorities have changed. And
absolutely.
like to me, right? Like I also didn't feel like it was fair to my employer as well, right? To put them in a situation where I'm not performing the best that I can be because of the way that I'm feeling, right? I don't think that
Right.
that's fair to my coworkers either, right? My coworkers are going to be affected. Like I'm to me, I'm always the type of person that I'll stick around as long as I know that I'm making a difference. Right. And if I know that I'm not making a difference, then that's time for me to move on. And I felt that I was going to get to that level of not wanting to make a difference because there's different variables to it, right? But
Right.
as soon as I saw that, I knew that I was going to be creating a disservice for some of the people that I support. I mean, like for those of you that don't know, I am in IT leadership. Um, I have been in IT for several years. I've always loved to tinker with things. I love to, figure things out. I love a difficult issue. I love problem solving. IT gives me all of that, right? The one thing that I'm truly passionate about is developing people. I love to get an understanding of what people want, what people need, how to leverage those skill sets in order to make them a better person, right? So when those things aren't there, that's when I start to, start to question whether or not I should be there. And then at the same time, then I go, well, if I'm questioning whether or not I should be here and I'm not happy with the outcome, then why am I even here? Right. So
Right.
that's where that decision came about yesterday. And it's absolutely scary. It's 100% scary. It's, even before this recording today, right? You and I talked, and like you had a very friend to friend moment with me, which I really I appreciate, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate you for that, because you called me and that the podcast is a big dream of mine, right? This is
Absolutely.
something that you
Mine
and
as
I,
well.
yeah,
And I know that me and you have been on level 176 with this thing lately, and we're both loving what happens, and we're
yeah.
both loving how it's going and the directions, the multiple directions that we're going in at the same time. But go ahead.
No, no,
I'll let you
no,
continue. But
no. You're absolutely right, man. Like this was something that for you and I, right? Like again, if you listen to one of our other Breakfast Blend episodes, we kind of go into it in detail. But like this was the thing that you and I started because we really wanted to just kind of create something fun, right? And then through that process, we ended up creating something that brought our friendship closer. It
yep.
allowed us to, not be hermits, right? Through this whole thing, it allowed us to actually share things that for you and I, we thought they were uncommon, but
Yeah.
they're actually very common for people our age, right?
Right.
Or our demographic, or whatever the situation may be. So you and like our friendship has definitely grown, and I really appreciated you reaching out today, and like you were like, you kind of started by saying, like, hey man, like, are you doing okay? Blah 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 blah, which I thought was really good. But then afterwards, you gave me the realistic talk, which a friend needs, right? Where you were
Right.
like, hey man, I know this podcast is your dream. I know this is something that you want to do. I know this is something that we want to pursue. This is something that we want to make happen. I'm also very happy about this and I want to make it happen. But you can't make it happen causing issues for your family and then causing more stress for yourself in the long run, right? And I thought
Right.
it's such a simple thing to do, and it's such a small thing to address, but it's something that sometimes we need to hear, man. Like it's
Well,
good
and
to
dude, it
hear.
was one of those moments where like, so I've made those poor choices in my life, and I've always looked back at some of them and been like, man, I so wish that one of my friends would have just said it out loud. They all looked at me. I could tell they all knew that I was kind of doing something not the right way or whatever, and I just wish one of them would have said it out loud, and then that would have allowed me to stop, get out of the situation a little bit, maybe pump the brakes, step back, look at it, and go, okay, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Maybe
Yeah.
that even and again, even though that's the answer, that's fine. That could be the answer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it at least got thought about. You know what I
No.
mean? And I could only imagine to be there for you in that way, where I have to make sure that you're thinking about all the pieces. That's all.
Right. No. And,
You know
and,
what I
and
mean?
no, and that's important, man, because again, right, like like when we make such drastic decisions, there is a little bit of a factor where you end up going like, did this motherfucker lose it? Right. And you almost have to do a temperature check. So I'm really happy that you did. Right. And also like, there's been a few people that have reached out to me and kind of, you know, expressed the same concern, which I appreciate because again, it makes me human. Right. And it makes me feel like
Dude, it's also cool to know that people give a shit about you like
It
that.
will
You know what I mean?
yes,
Like
that
that
is
in
a big
itself.
piece.
I mean, I mean, I've seen tons of stuff. I think it's part of the algorithms on places like TikTok and things like that. When you're like, a dude in your 30s, it sends you all the like depressing dad things.
Right, right.
So like it's like, yeah. Um but it kind of brings, I will have to say, I do have to give a little bit of credit to something that has been a little evil in our lives, but the pandemic has, I think, really opened a lot of our eyes to our own mental health.
Absolutely. 100%.
And like how that all ties in here is like, I look at things differently when I talk to my friends. I will say that extra little bit. I will call and have that conversation like me and you had earlier today. And because that is something that we truthfully need to look at. You know what I mean?
100%.
And if I'm gonna say, how I want that in life, and I want to be that guy, I gotta live that too. So like, and just being there for your friends, being there for people that are important to you in your life. I know that if the shoe were on the other foot, you'd be like, bro, you okay?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you would get the same phone
You,
call from me, just being
you
like,
think we
"Hey man,
need
did
to
you lose
like
your shit?"
take a trip? Like, I'll drive you to the hospital if you want to go.
No,
Like,
absolutely, man. No, and like yesterday, I posted something on LinkedIn, right, which was like an official closure for me, and I
yep.
cried. I
Oh yeah.
cried, dude. And the reason why I cried was because, again, this is something that's very new to me. Sharing emotions is something very new to me, and I'm accepting them because I also understand that as part of me growing and me understanding my mental health and my anxiety. Like, I need to have those closures, right? And I need to
Yeah.
let myself feel. So that's what I did yesterday, and I'm sad to leave people behind. I'm sad to leave, you know, cool things behind. But at the same time, like, I have to focus on me, right? I
Yeah.
have to focus on me. Um,
Well, I think
so
it's also getting back to like, no matter what we do in life, whether we become wildly successful in this this journey with the podcast, or not, continue on to life. I think the way we look for what we want in life is different too.
absolutely,
And I also credit you for that for me as well. Is like, just like, one of the things that I find very individual about you, and one of the things that I like, is the few times that we've really come together when I've been in a bad place, you have always given me like, "Oh, dude, it's not that big of a deal. We could do this, and then you could do this, and I'll help you with this, and we'll get it figured out." Like, you
no.
have that calming effect as a friend, like, which, like, and sometimes when you're that guy, you need a little bit of that back, you know?
And that is the part that was refreshing, dude. I mean, honestly, like, hearing having you reach out and kind of like serve that mirror almost for me, right? Like, you basically did what I would have done, right? And
Right.
and you even delivered it the way that I would have. And like, I don't think that you meant to do it that way. I think that's just your personality and the way that you are. And you reached out and started asking some of these questions, right? And I
Well,
think that,
we have to share with the folks is like, hey man, we're doing great with this podcast thing, and I don't want to not do it anymore. And I just want to make sure that you're making this decision with the right frame of mind.
yeah, I think internally
We
you were
can't
like,
we can't I can't quit. Like,
like
I'm
it.
sorry.
I think internally you were like, hey man, like, you do know that we only have like 34 subscribers. Like, we don't even have enough views.
You guys at home, if you could help us change that, that would be fantastic.
That would be
But
awesome. That would be awesome.
not
Um,
even just in a feeling from the inside, not even in a monetary way.
no, no, no. Like, like, here's the thing. Like, I want you guys to listen to the things that I've been through, not necessarily because I want you to like go, oh man, poor guy. No, fuck that. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I want you
Right.
to take a look at it and go, if you're stuck in that same situation and you're like, well, fuck, man, like,
even in a similar situation.
yeah, yeah. If you're stuck in a similar situation where you're just like, what's my next move? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to, continue to be here? Am I supposed to, like, please these people? Like, really take a step back and start questioning whether or not you're truly happy. Start questioning whether or not the pros outweigh the cons, right? Start thinking about the gratification that you get through this whole thing, right? Like, think about the satisfaction that you get through it. And if you're not getting that,
and some of the things that we talked about on the phone and we've already kind of brushed over here today is like, put a, is the the pain and suffering that you got to go through to go to work, and nobody really loves it. A lot of people love what they do. That's different, but nobody really loves getting up and going to work every day.
right, right,
So what is the value of yourself and your time and your mental health and everything else involved? And I think what that does is it just causes everybody to look at that a little different. Like, I know very much, even watching you go through this situation, I'm like, but at the same time, it's one of those things where everybody, you can take that advice and think about it, but it doesn't mean run out and everybody quit your job, because
right, right.
that's not going to really solve anything in your situation. It solves something specific for you.
Correct.
It may be completely different to somebody else, but at the same time, man, I just think that it's proof positive that we all should, if we're not, and we all do kind of inherently, just as a society today, think about our mental health a little bit more. And like, I don't know, man, I'm proud of you. And let's be totally honest, even though I'm the friend making the call and doing those things, I know that you are enough of a hustler to make sure that nothing's going to happen bad financially to you and your family.
No,
Like, there's not even a little doubt in my mind that you guys will be perfectly fine. Because I know what you're willing to do. I mean, you're the type of guy that you'll go do anything just to make sure that the necessities are met.
yeah, no,
So,
you're dead on, man. And like, I like I said, I appreciate those words, because again, those are the words that I would be giving somebody else. So hearing them on my side is very refreshing. It's good.
right.
But no, like,
It's a new experience.
it is a new experience. It's a new experience. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Like, like, this isn't for everybody, right? Like, I'm not saying, like, fucking go in there tomorrow and just like slam your coffee cup and being like, I'm out, bitches. No, that's not what I'm saying.
39 people are losing their jobs
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, don't right. Don't do that. But like, take a step back and like really look at what is valuable to you. Look at what's important to you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, look at the things that matter to you, right? And if work is something that matters to you, awesome. Kill it. Go for it. Keep grinding it out, right? But if there's other things that you feel make you happy or make you feel that level of like of satisfaction, right? Like when you close your laptop at the end of the day, if you end up going like, that was awesome. That was a good day. Like, that is what you want every single day, right?
Yeah.
And yes, there are going to be variations of it where you're going to have the, whew, that was a tough one. Man, I almost didn't make it out of that one. That's also okay, right? Like, that's okay to have once in a while. Excuse me, once in a while. But if you are sitting there every day, right, closing your laptop, and then you're like, all right, same shit tomorrow, then you're not getting anything out of it.
More
right?
doom and gloom tomorrow.
Exactly. Like, you're not
Trust
doing
me,
anything.
Oh yeah.
So for those of you that are thinking about, well, shit, am I going to take this route? Am I supposed to do that? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But I can tell you that you need to, one, like, my advice to you guys is really surround yourself with supportive people. That's number one. Find the people that actually, like I said, tell you the truth.
That actually give a shit.
That actually give a shit.
Like,
and
they're
they're
real
like,
deal.
And they're going to tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, but those are the type of friends that you want. You want the friends that, like, like, when you are being a little shit, you need that friend that goes, hey man, calm the fuck down. Right? You also need the friend that, like, if you're on the floor, right, and you're like in pain, that they're willing to stop by and go, hey man, are you okay? right? Like
Right.
you want those people. Those are the people that you need to surround yourself with. That's number one. Do that. That's number one. Number
Yeah.
two is really start like prioritizing the things in your life, right? Look at the things that are are happy factors for you, and then look at the ones that are just kind of like triggers, if you will. Look at those things and see which ones are more important to you, right? Like for me, for example, like happiness for me is being able to watch my kids grow. I didn't do that earlier on in their life. I miss soccer games. I miss like, I miss the first time that Alex walked, right? Why? Because I was working, I was traveling. And like those are the things that I'm never gonna get back. I'm never gonna see that again, right? And am I angry that I missed it? I used to be. I'm I've accepted it now because it was a decision that I made, right?
Right.
So now I'm in the stage in my life where I go, this is way too important for me to miss out. Like this is way too
Right.
important for me to like even, you know, miss these years, right? To me, my kids right now are at this age where it's beautiful what they're going through. Like you're starting to see some of the good and the bad that they've inherited from me and Nicole, right? Like and it's fucking scary, right? So when I look at that and I go, I am supposed to be the example for these kids, right? Like, and not necessarily like, again, in another episode we talked about role models and all that stuff. Like I am the fucking role model for this kid, right? For these
Right.
kids. These two kids look up to me and they go, well, fuck, why is dad upset today? Oh, it's work? Sorry, right? So to me, like I didn't want them to see that because it also tarnishes them, right? It
Right.
it gives them a bad perception of what work is. And I don't want them to have a bad perception of work because work is not bad. You said it earlier, you said it best, right? Where
Yeah.
you said um it's not the work that's the issue, it's the getting up to go to work that's the problem, right? And it's because of the fact that like people enjoy what they do. I know
Yeah.
you, for example, like you love what you do,
Oh yeah.
right? Like you love to problem solve, you love to engage with people, you love to, like the ins and outs of what your role is every day, you love it.
Oh yeah.
The thing that's a challenge for you at times, right, is the fact that like if you're not in the right mindset, that shit becomes a burden,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
and let's talk about the elephant in the room a little bit too, is something that um our journey here within all of our platforms has really brought me to a very positive mental place,
Mhm.
which has almost reinvigorated some things for me in my current employment. Like things have changed around a little bit, but it's because I'm in a better mood.
Right,
And I'm in a better mood because I'm paying attention to my mental health and I'm doing something that I truthfully love just for fun.
right, exactly. So, and that's where like you've outlined what your priorities are, right? And again, like if you look at Brandon's example, Brandon's not fucking going in there and like and going, well, Nelson quit, so I'm quitting. No, right? Like
I
one,
can.
he's smarter than me, but but two, like two is the fact that like you've learned how to prioritize some of those things in order for you to adjust accordingly, right?
Right.
So the
And sometimes that's not to discount your situation. Sometimes there is no prioritizing that's going to get you out of it.
that too,
Like
sometimes,
that
yeah,
that is part of the prioritizing. Can I actually get to the other side of this?
absolutely,
And that's a very real question. Whether, a lot of people don't have these conversations like out loud either, which I
absolutely,
think is a awesome part of our friendship is we can talk to each other, both best friends and professionally have a conversation about what we think the best things for each other, because sometimes you might think you know all your strengths but you don't,
right.
or you might think, we had a couple we were talking briefly about what your plans were to where you were going to look for future employment,
Right.
and that may be now you also have this laundry list of new things, maybe not new, but they definitely weren't there when you made the decision to work at your most recent employer. But now you have a laundry list of other things like, hey, this is what I love to do. Does it conflict with work? Does it not conflict with work? Can I be over here in this industry or that? Sometimes there's got to be a little bit of that that's a little bit exciting.
Well, okay, and that I'm glad
That's
you
kind
brought
of
that
where I
up.
was going to that.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because that is the third thing that I think that we as people need to do, right? Like, again, my entire life I've heard do what makes you happy, right? And that's easier said than
I
done.
don't think I've really been put in a lot of situations where that
No,
works.
that's easier said than done, right? Like, I mean, like, like there's too many variables to just throw out that statement, right? So what I ended up doing, and this is where I kind of go back to your point of COVID being a gift, not so much a curse, right? Although there's pros and cons to the whole thing too, but in a gift, the way that I decided to take that was I was like, you know what? I enjoy um, you know, coming up with ideas for designs, right? Nicole enjoys creating the designs, right? So then we go, well, you know what? Like we actually enjoy swag. We like making swag. We enjoy it. So we decided to invest in buying equipment to make swag, right? Obviously, that's not the million. There you go. Obviously, that's not the million
Silent
dollar.
shout out.
Obviously, that's not the $1 million idea, but it's what makes me happy. I mean, like, I'll tell you that when I'm sitting here pressing like shirts, right? It brings me this sense of satisfaction because like I'm doing something that I enjoy. It's leveraging my creative side, right? And it's challenging me, and it also puts me in a place where I feel like there is no stress in my mind, right?
Well,
And
and we touched on that topic, I believe, in the other breakfast blend episode.
yeah, we did. We
Um,
did.
and really finding that space where you can let go. And that, dude, if you found something that finding that thing is a hard thing to begin with, but it almost brings, like, I think I had mentioned it before, but it almost brings like an adolescence, childhood, like, you know, when playing on the park is the only thing that mattered to you, like that's all, like you were so happy just to be there. And that's what a lot of these things do. Like for you guys it's swag, for me it's golf, and and doing this. Like this has become one of those things for me.
No,
And just
you're
the things that I've learned from the short time we've been doing this already have been amazing.
right. No,
And even about myself, about you, like our friendship has grown immensely. I think we just have had an excuse to tell stories about our entire life to grow closer.
absolutely, absolutely. And using that analogy of like, finding that playground, right? Like it's exactly that. I mean, like, with some of my other jobs that I've had, like they've kind of turned into where I had to sit on the bench and watch, right? I have to watch other people play. And that's hard. It's difficult, right? Like I still have the inner child. I want to go out there and play. I want to go out there and like have fun. And when that's gone, then your day just becomes gloomy, and then it just becomes mundane, and it's the same shit over and over again, and then you have to supplement it with other things in order to give you an escape from the things that's happening every day, right? So
Right.
for me, that's one of the things that was important and became important, and that playground was, you know something that I missed, something that I needed,
Right.
right? So, like I said, the third point being the fact that you start finding the things that you actually like doing. Don't worry about figuring out how you're going to make it big. Don't do that.
Right.
Like try to do them and see if you actually really enjoy them. This podcast for me was a test, right? Like I said, we discussed this in previous episodes where I didn't even think we were making it past episode 3. Um, but
And
I
I
find
felt like Nelson was giving us too much credit at episode 3.
right. But I now, like, I do it and I find it so rewarding, right? Even if like I said, I mean, we have what, 30 something subscribers. Like even if that's the number that we stay at, that's okay. If those 30 people have the potential to hear this statement and it makes a difference for them, then carry it on out, right? So that was point number 3 for me.
Right.
Point number 4, and there's 5 points that I'm going to make, but point number 4 is don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, right? Like this is somewhere where, and again, do it respectfully. Don't be a dick. But like it's important for you to really outline what it is that you're passionate about and really carry it through. Like I said, for
Right.
me, it became that my priorities shifted. My mental health became more important. And also, I really wanted that playground again, right? Those are
Right.
the things that became really important for you. Those things that become important to you could be different, right? But you need to make sure that you understand what they are and really get a grasp for what it entails to actually bring that into your life. Then the fifth point that I'm going to make is reflect. Reflect on what you've done. And this means like good and bad. I mean, think about all the good shit that you did for work. Think about all the accomplishments that you made. Pat yourself in the back, right? Like think about the fact that you made a difference and think about that like there's certain stages that had to happen in order to get you to this place that you are as a human being. I'm not the same person that I was in 2016. And the reason why I'm referencing 2016 is because that's when I started at Noodles. And I was a different person then than I am now, right? Like
Right.
my
I
focus
feel like
has
your whole
changed.
life has changed.
Oh my, yeah, exactly. My whole life has changed. So, it's important that you take the time to reflect, and it's also important that you celebrate the wins along the way, right? And
Well,
also,
I
like,
think that's a huge part. I mean, and I think I've kind of been the friend to help do that with you at the
absolutely,
same time. Like that was one
absolutely,
of the important things I wanted to touch on is, and I know I already started to do that in the beginning of this, but is like, dude, like my hat's off to you because like we all talk about it. Like I think that you would be hard pressed to find anyone that is let's say just anyone that's employed by someone else. Like if you run your own business it's a little different, but anyone that's employed by somebody else has had that thought of, man, I'm just gonna quit.
hmm hmm
You know, we've all had that thought in one day or time or another, but like this wasn't that. Like obviously clearly you can articulate a lot of different things that have led up to that, so this isn't just a an instantaneous like, oh, I'm just gonna quit.
yeah, no, no,
Like,
no,
you know what I
no,
mean? Like,
no, absolutely,
and that's what I'm saying is you've made it somewhere in life, and you've hit a lot of important milestones, personally, professionally, all the way through. So like, you can't cheapen it for yourself. Is my one biggest fear is like, don't just feel bad about yourself the next day
no,
because
exactly,
you did it for a reason,
no,
and in my opinion, they were great reasons. You know, knowing you and knowing the entire situation, not the entire situation, but knowing the majority of everything
right,
for
right.
you, I think it was the best decision.
No, and like I said, I mean, like, taking the time to reflect on those positives, just like you outlined, right? Like, it's important, like celebrate the milestones, celebrate the things that you did. Also, it's important that you take the step back and go, oh shit, I did fuck up on that one. Okay, this is how I would have
But
done it
learn
better.
from it.
Right. And like make the changes in order to get you to where you need to be. So, like nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. I have decided to put my shit on blast because this is something that I've always wanted to share. I wanted to open up to people and like I want to make myself vulnerable.
Right.
Like it's one of those things that I need to do in order to move forward is make myself vulnerable. And it's okay, right? Like there's gonna be people that are gonna disagree with me. There's gonna be people that are gonna be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? There's gonna be people that are gonna say, hey man, like, why don't you just write it out? And like, well, and all those things may work for you. They don't work for me, and that's okay, right? So
Right.
when I made the decision to quit my job, I took all of those things into consideration and then I took action on it. So, if you're in that situation where you're thinking about changing your lifestyle, thinking about, changing the way that you do things, consider those 5 things that I outlined in this call. Um,
Absolutely. Between that and like, dude, you got to think about a couple things all in there. In addition, I think to the five main points, and it's just little pieces and parts here that I'm throwing in. But you know, I think when you have the pieces and parts like we have, right? We have this whole platform to be able to talk to people. It's become very therapeutic, which has kind of pushed us in a direction where we're happy. about things again. And I think that's put us into I think both of us have just been deep diving into our own individual selves a little bit more often and thinking
Absolutely.
about it. And I
Absolutely.
think that's important too, is like, instead of like in your case, you have been thinking about all this stuff, but other people, you know, you have a bad day, don't just quit your job. Think about where you want to be in life.
Exactly.
Have a dream, a goal, a hobby, anything, and then start making decisions that actually are for your benefit. And I
Dead on.
think it also ties into back to when we, you know, in some of our very early episodes of the Dad Man Dude podcast, um, we talked about like accepting getting older. Well, we know that we've gotten older. We're smart enough to know that we can make it out of just about any situation. So now let's have some of those life experiences. Let's do the things that really matter to us and then create the world around us that actually matters to us and that is going to feed us just as well spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, in all those different categories. Why don't we create something and at least create a mindset that we're thinking about those things and doing things that way?
No, dude, I can't even add anything to that. I think that you expressed it extremely well. You know, it's exactly what you're talking about. I mean, there's a lot of variables. There's a lot of things to consider, and you know, like we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. Like I said, if you surround yourself with the right people, if you think about what's important to you, if you outline what your end point is, right? If you think about how rewarding something is versus something that's damaging, right? Like if you think about the goal, I'm sorry, the good and the bad, if you think about your wins and the losses, like all those things come into play in order for you to take the next step, whatever that may be, right? Your next step may be that you need to go talk to your boss and let them know that there is an issue happening somewhere, right? And that you need A, B, and C. If that's the next step, do it, right?
Right.
Believe in it. Believe in it, right? Like it's important that you not only believe in it, but also believe in yourself. Like that is something that's very important. And I think we all forget at times. So, you know, like for those of you that know me, I'm okay. It's scary. I am scared. I am also happy. I am also sad. I am I am every single emotion that you can think of, right? But the most prevalent is happiness. And the reason why I'm happy is because I chose me. I chose me. And that is something that for the first time in my life, I've actually decided to do without feeling remorseful, without feeling guilty, without feeling, you know, that I have let somebody down, without feeling that I pissed somebody off. Like none of that is a factor to me because I'm putting myself first. And that is something that we all need to practice. If we take care of us, we can take care of the rest of us.
And do that. I don't even know what else I could add to that. Really.
I
Like,
mean,
because that,
you could throw in a subscribe.
I mean, you could subscribe. I think that would be fantastic. Throw us some comments when, if
Absolutely.
you guys have ever been through this situation. I mean, as we were talking about, I mean, we decided that this was an important enough situation in both of our lives, mainly Nelson's, but both of our lives, that we wanted to come in here and talk to you guys about it and tell you how things in our life unfold.
Yes.
Um,
And we wanted to do it when it was fresh, right? We
right.
wanted to get
So
the raw feeling.
right. And we want to hear the raw feedback from you guys of, you know, your situations, because this is also a learning thing for us too. You know, and as we talked about already, a lot of this learning that we've done here has helped you make your decision, me make plenty of decisions, both good, bad, indifferent, great for each one of us individually. And I think that by us learning from this, it if you guys pitch in and throw in some extra pieces and parts here, we could really be onto something. So
No, 100%, man. You know, so, you know, and for those employers, right, that have the employee's interest in mind, take the time and talk to them. Try to figure out what it is that's important to them, right? Because again, what's important to me is not important to the next person to the person next to me. So it's important that you really understand what those things are. And also think about the fact that like you have to practice this not only with new employees, but you got to practice this with employees that have been present for a while, the people that have been riding with you for a while. Like listen to them as well, because they have as many needs as the people that are coming in. Now, if you're not willing to share what those things are, then you also have to kind of question why it is that you don't want to share those, right? Is it because, you're in a situation where you just don't feel comfortable sharing, or is it because of the fact that you're just not comfortable yourself sharing those things? And maybe that is the first step that you got to take in order to get to that next step. But, definitely consider those things. Try to live life the best that you can. Try to be happy. We only have this one life. That's it.
Right.
And we have to make it the best that we can. Again, to those that know me, I appreciate you. I'm looking at the camera here. I appreciate you. I thank you for everything that you did for me. I learned a lot. For me, this isn't a goodbye, but more of a like, I'll see you later type of thing. And I'm grateful for what has happened. And I'm going to take this one and I'm probably going to apply the same things that I told you before, right? I'm going to apply it to this same situation. But I can tell you that right now, there's not a bone in my mind or in my body that goes, shit, I fucked up. And I don't feel that way because, again, I come first. I'm putting myself first this time because that is what I need.
I mean, and I think that's a perfect takeaway for today is put yourself first. Put your family first. It doesn't mean, go out and be a selfish asshole, but
Right.
it means, put your situation, because at the end of the day, when the lights turn off and everything else, what's going to matter?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Is anybody going to look at your statistics as an employee?
Absolutely.
You do this every day to we talked about make money and do things like that, but in order to be consistent and continue on, you got to be in a positive mental place. And if anything's affecting you in that way, you gotta do something.
Absolutely.
Something.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
100%. Use these 5 steps plus a few more and figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So, the thing that I am asking you is, because of the fact that Brandon and I are really passionate about this channel, this podcast, the things that we're going to be creating, the things that we're going to be sharing with you guys, like it's valuable for us because of the necessity of the tool that we're using, which is primarily YouTube based. We also have a podcast on Spotify. It's important for you guys to, if you guys want to support us, all you have to do is just hit subscribe or like on our videos, right? I prefer if you did both, because in that way, again, it helps us with the algorithms and all that good stuff, because we just want to get our word out there. But it also helps
check
me.
Us out on all the platforms too. I mean, we
Absolutely.
have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Am I missing any?
Probably.
Okay.
We're everywhere.
All the normals.
We'll include them in the descriptions.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, like, I ask that you take the time to reflect, support me if you feel like this information is valuable to you. Because I want to continue making content like this. To me, like I said, developing people is a very important thing of mine. And I think sharing stories is a good way for people to develop themselves. And again, like Brandon said, share your side of things, right? Tell us what you think. Tell us like whether or not like your first thought was like, damn, is this dude crazy? Right? Like, and if that was your first thought, post it on there. It's okay.
Yeah,
throw it out there. I'm vulnerable now. So, thank you guys for listening to us. We appreciate the people that have been supporting us so far. We appreciate the people that have been giving us feedback. I appreciate the people that stood by me with yesterday's decision. And I also thank those people in particular for allowing me to be me and letting me tell them the crazy thoughts that go through my mind without them being completely judgmental of me. So I appreciate that. And, thank you for everything. Like I said, support us if you can. I would
And
appreciate
guys,
that.
I sense there may be some swag coming. I'm just saying.
Hey,
You guys
hey.
that are watching on YouTube, there may be some swag coming. And now that Nelson has a little bit more time on his hands, he could really just combine his passions.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Maybe,
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, again, want to
Tell
thank
us
you
if you
from,
like him.
yeah, tell us. But yeah, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will sign off. I'll let Brandon do his thing, but I appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Yeah. Freaking see you guys later.
Bye.
Breakfast blend out.